guys, welcome back to another episode of Robeast Reviews, and I am your host, Robeast. Let's address the elephant in the room right off the top. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a few months since I last updated. There's a few reasons for that. First and foremost, I got to a point in my life where I was just trying to do too many things. I had too many responsibilities going on, and I was getting quickly burned out on lots of it. And this channel was something I started just out of fun. You know, I don't have great aspirations to be a famous YouTuber or anything like that. This channel really started because I have a unending, undying passion for toys and collecting and action figures. And this is sort of my place to sort of get to share my enthusiasm. Second off, and almost equally as important, I have ideas of what I want this channel to be, what I want the channel to look like, and I feel like I wasn't there, and I was pretty far from getting there. And I will say right off the bat, I'm still nowhere near where I want this channel to be, both stylistically, content, the whole deal. But it's been a while. I've had some people, basically just some close friends who enjoyed the videos, who, you know, kind of bugged me about getting started back up again and why I haven't, you know, updated. And honestly, I didn't really have a good reason. It was just sort of maybe a little bit of perfectionism, and a little bit of just laziness and just tiredness. But something recently happened that kind of inspired me to get back into making these videos. And it's been a big deal for me. In a previous video, I mentioned that there's a few popular toy lines that I just don't collect. Transformers, you know, I have a very few. I don't really collect Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anymore. There's a story there that I will go into probably someday, a very heartbreaking story that almost made me quit collecting toys altogether. But the number one most popular toy line that I just didn't collect as an adult collector was Star Wars. First and foremost, Star Wars is a brand kind of wore out its welcome for me for many reasons, whether it was the quality of the prequels, and this isn't, I'm not here to start that debate of whether the prequels are good or not, but I had collected the figures for the, I literally was there at Target at midnight, you know, when the doors were opening and we were going to get our hands on the first wave of the Phantom Menace toys. So I was there. But a lot of things, whether it was a lot of the toxicity of the fandom, just the quality of the movies, the oversaturation of the brand across, you know, all sorts of, you know, commercial products. But going back further, the Kenner Star Wars toys were literally my very first two action figures I ever owned was Star Wars figures and He-Man figures. You know, born in 77, you know, I was, you know, born the year Star Wars came out. In fact, my 20th birthday was spent going to the special editions on the 20th anniversary of Star Wars. I was there. That's literally how I spent my 20th birthday with my twin brother and all of our friends. So I had a long history of collecting Star Wars or being a fan of the franchise at this point. I, you know, owned a ton as a kid, but by the end of Return of the Jedi and the disappearance of the brand, while I still always loved Star Wars, and I, you know, aesthetically, I've never lost my appreciation. The original Ralph McQuarrie designs, all of the original trilogy, the art direction, all the designs, production designs, all the character designs, I've never lost my love for that. But as a toy collector, I still remember when Power of the Force 2 came out and buying them, and just immediately sort of, you know, the buff designs, it has become very well known. There's enough media out there that goes over the sort of poisoned reputation of the Power of the Force 2 line, and their, you know, overly muscular sculpts, and how they were really derided at the time by serious Star Wars fans, and they've sort of now kind of come around, and there's a little bit of maybe ironic love or nostalgia love for them, which I can definitely appreciate too. Again, I was buying them at the time. It was just nice to have new Star Wars figures. But for a long time, and this goes back into what will probably eventually be in a video dedicated solely to TMNT and my personal history of collecting TMNT. I lost all of my vintage toys, basically, as a kid. And what extra burned, and still burns me to this day, is for whatever reason, the original Power of the Force Kenner line, for whatever reason, I don't know if we were going into KBs and they were just cheap or whatever, or, you know, I was just really big into Return of the Jedi at that point and rewatching it. But I owned at least half of, I would have to count it, but I had a Mono Man. I had the Death Star Gunner. I had Han in Carbonite. I had, we had so many as a kid, that going back and seeing those prices now for the figures I owned and are somewhere in a landfill somewhere or somewhere in a storage unit on a relative's property, I don't even know at this point. But basically, knowing what I was going to have to pay to get those figures back in my life, for the longest time, it was just, I just wasn't going to do it. As we all know, the Star Wars collectibles market, and being a Star Wars collector, is a huge rabbit hole. And it's going to be an unending, bottomless pit of a rabbit hole, because that is a merchandise train that is never stopping. Those tracks do not end. But something interesting happened. I remember seeing Rogue One and being kind of reigniting my love for Star Wars, or seeing in Star Wars what I saw as a kid and the potential. You know, and I will, you know, again, this isn't, we're not here to discuss or debate the quality of Star Wars films, but something in those films reignited the cold embers of what was once a you know, pretty passionate love for Star Wars and the brand. But I still was nowhere near collecting Star Wars memorabilia again. But in the last few years, with what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been able to do with the television series, and I will go on record and say that includes Boba Fett. Was Boba Fett perfect? No. Do I still love it? Yes. Are there problems in the first season of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett? Sure. But is it as bad as everybody says? No, not to me. But with that said, specifically The Mandalorian really kind of reignited my love of Star Wars, of the universe that George Lucas built. And I remember seeing the retro collection for the Mandalorian figures and being like, wow, those are fucking really neat. God, that's such a cool idea. And man, if I still had my Kenner figures, I'd start this collection and like have them, you know, fit right in. And that thought one day opened up to me finally buying a few Star Wars figures. And I had a few, I've held onto a few like weird, like old Pez dispensers and just random old Star Wars merchandise that I've had for years. Because I feel like, you know, I still like even when I was burnt out on Star Wars, I still always loved Darth Vader and Chewbacca. I will never stop loving those two characters. So I had a few things, and I ended up breaking down and buying the retro collection of the New Hope, the Star Wars retro Kenners, the re-releases, basically the redos of the original Kenner, Chewbacca, and Darth Vader from the retro collection that Hasbro put out. Anyways, before this becomes too long of a video, buying the retro collection Mandalorian and the retro collection IG 11, who I do, that's my love of all the IG models, is I love the IG robots or droids, especially IG 11. Those two figures, though, buying the retro IG 11 and Mandalorian, open up basically the floodgates. And just knowing how much I really did love the those original Kenner figures and the sculpts, and all the memories. And I could fill a whole video just my memories of specific figures and certain experiences that I've had, some interesting, weird things that have happened in my life around those figures. But maybe a future video. But I basically broke down, and I can now say that I am a Star Wars action figure collector. You can see sort of behind me, in 2.5 months, I've started a collection, focused mainly around the original Kenner figures. I can say right now that I have, and I probably will never own a blue Snaggletooth. I will probably never own a real vinyl Cape Jawa, although I did buy a Stan Solo custom creation figure. But outside of those figures, I'm only missing 13 of the original Kenner figures, all from the last 17. And some other, vehicles, things that you can see behind me. But something has happened in collecting those that reawakened a real love and joy of toy collecting that I haven't really experienced, even with Master of the Universe Origins and things that sort of hold some sort of nostalgia of my childhood. As much as I do, and I am a big fan of the Origins line, even if the release schedule on those things has been bizarre and kind of sometimes maybe frustrating. But something to do with buying the original Kenner figures, besides, again, the pure nostalgia factor, just my memories of being a kid on Christmas Day, of a cousin gifting me and my brothers the Death Star playset and a bunch of his old figures. There's just been this joy, and I do think those original Kenner figures are like art. I think the simplicity and trying to capture the essence of these characters in some ways in very naive ways, and very like you can talk about Snaggletooth or Panda Baba or Walrus Man, just the weird, the Kenner team had very limited photo resource, so those figures don't look exactly like the movie characters, but there's something magic there. There's an economy of design, which is something I talk about a lot, that just works for me. And those figures there's such a charm to those figures, and they're and beyond that, they're iconic and really important, and probably the most important toy line to ever exist. But so with that, I've been collecting Black Series. I'm collecting some vintage. I'll never out with the original Kenner figures that I could see myself trying to be a completist. In no ways have I ever been a completist in any of the toys I collect. I buy figures and toys that I love, that I think are cool, characters I love. I mean, with Marvel Legends, I have a lot of Marvel Legends, but I never really cared for the movie figures, so I don't have a lot of those. I buy the things that I like. I buy the toys I think I need to own, as opposed to just buying something that I don't even really like, but out of a sense of owning them all, or a completist mentality. But with that said, I could see myself aiming one day to be a completist for the original Kenner line. Some things become very expensive. And in a way, that's kind of fun. There's like the Holy Grail aspects again for me. You know, and finding things at a good price. And, you know, as cool and, you know, as fun as it is to collect vintage Kenner Star Wars figures, the fact is that, you know, it was a very popular brand, so there's still a lot on the market. Even the rarer stuff you'll find because it was just such a popular toy line. But with that said is, you know, again, I'm buying black, Star Wars black, buying, you know, the vintage line. I have, you can't see, but I have a very, very, I have a near complete Power of the Force 2 collection from the first 2 years. But yeah, so, you know, it was a point on this channel a long time ago that I just wasn't a Star Wars collector, and that there's enough people out there, you know, YouTubers who collect Star Wars, who focus on Star Wars related content. So I wasn't going to cover it on this channel because it just wasn't my thing. Well, it's my thing again. And I probably won't cover it too much on this channel because of those same reasons, and I think those reasons are still valid, just because there's, you know, there's so many channels dedicated to it, and it is probably the single most popular toy line in the history of collecting action figures. So I don't think I really have anything particularly interesting more to say about it, but it's been a fun journey, and it's been really an interesting learning experience for me, kind of coming full circle with a brand that, you know, as a kid was the coolest thing on earth. There was nothing cooler in 1981 than Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. And, you know, those memories I'll take with me, you know, to the grave. So, you know, and a lot of thanks, or should I say, I mean, maybe I should be upset because this is costing me, you know, a lot of money. But, you know, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, what they've been able to do with the modern Star Wars direction and the TV series. You know, Obi-Wan's coming out soon. I'm excited about that. But they sort of gave me the Star Wars universe that I've been wanting for a long time. You know, I may cover Star Wars content on this channel in the future. I may continue to show off, like, my Kenner collection as I gain new pieces. I've never done an unboxing on this channel. I've never done a toy review, even though those are coming. I have a lot planned for this year. The Blitzway Voltron I'm more excited about that than I should be, than a grown man should be excited for something. But once I get that in hand, that will probably be my first unboxing, because it will be, you know, spectacular. Hopefully. I'm sure it will be. For the price, goddammit, it better be. But, you know, again, I may or may not, you know, do more Star Wars related content on this channel, but, you know, it's been fun to reignite my love of the brand. And again, I also, just speaking practically, as you sort of can see behind me, having been pretty vocal on previous videos of that I don't collect Star Wars and it's not my thing, to then have my newest video after a few months from updating my background be nothing but Star Wars toys, I felt I should probably address it. So, but with that said, it feels good to be back. If you're still watching, you know, please give this video a like, give it the old thumbs up, subscribe if you already haven't. And if you want to chew me out for being a hypocrite and going back to collecting Star Wars toys, feel free to do so in the messages, in the comment section. But it's good to be back. I can't believe my first video back is a video about collecting Star Wars, but that's just the way the universe works. But again, I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe, as I already said. And I always say, support the things you love, buy the things you love, and let's all have fun collecting toys.